Good morning and welcome back to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Kolvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group. Feel free to give us a call at 612-504-8400 or always visit us online at havenfinancialgroup.com. Kim, we've had some great, well-attended educational events recently, and I encourage folks to go to the website and see the upcoming ones. Medicare Made Simple, wills, trusts, and legacy planning, investment classes, Social Security classes, and numerous others. We're firm believers in the education piece, making educated decisions. And certainly the tax discussions we're going to have today, they're really relative to everybody, but probably more to the demographics that we serve, that those that are getting close to retirement and in retirement. Right. And I can't stress enough, when you're in accumulation mode, younger, you're just accumulating. That is a different season of life than when you're getting closer to retirement and retirement, where now you're making distributions. So taxes will affect us probably more at any stage, probably more in retirement than ever before. And that's not meant to be pessimistic. It's the reality. So again, sure. Come on in and visit with us. You might be surprised.
Absolutely. Well, we also have with us today Lance Larson. He is a CPA there at the Haven Financial Group. And we're going to talk in this segment a little bit more about retirement accounts and what we can do to, maximize those dollars and minimize the tax on them. So, Lance, let's start with 401k plans. Obviously people start to draw those, and then we have to start thinking about taxes there. So what's the best advice, best way for people to go about starting to draw their 401k?
So 401ks, just so that we can know, that is a retirement plan that has been set up under the code section 401k. There's going to be other people that will have 457Bs or 403Bs. So everything we talk about with this is going to be also related to those people who have those type of accounts as well. Mm-hmm. We want to understand that these accounts are employer accounts that while you're working, you can make contributions to this. They are pre-tax accounts unless they are specifically defined as a Roth account, which then are funded with after-tax money. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at the 401k, again, it's while you're as an employee, you're making the contributions. Once you've separated from service, you may or may not be able to keep the money in that 401k. And then you would want to roll it over if you can't keep it there. Or you could also have an in-service rollover while you're still working to have better options. Mm-hmm. And when you do a rollover, you're going to move it over to an individual retirement account, an IRA, which is then set up under a different code section. And we talk about these code sections just because each one is going to have its own set of contribution limits. Mm-hmm. And that while you may be covered under one, you might also be able to make a contribution to your individual retirement account as well, depending on what your income level is. Mm-hmm. So a lot of preface before getting back to your question on this one, but when we look at taking distributions from these pre-tax accounts, we want to be cognizant of what our total income is, and especially if we have other sources such as a pension, or Social Security is the biggest one that a lot of people will have. Mm-hmm. Because again, we go back to, we have a progressive tax system. When we pull money from these different sources, each source kind of does the withholding tables based upon the distribution from their own accounts. So what we end up saying is that, hey, if I take $50,000 out of my 401k, then I have a pension that gives me $30,000, and then I have Social Security. Well, right there, when we add up all the income, that's going to put us into a 12 or possibly 22% tax bracket. The problem that people run into a lot is that when we do the withholding at each source, it says, hey, you only pulled out this much money, therefore we need to only withhold about 10%. And so when you have each source that does 10%, we're going to be coming short, and then they're going to owe money on April 15th.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that would be the case with a 401k plan or a plan like that, an employee plan, because
And
that's all pre-taxed.
Yep. So that's going to be on all pre-tax accounts,
Okay.
even the traditional IRA.
Right.
And
Now,
so
it's different with the Roth.
it is. So the Roth is going to be funded with after-tax money. And so we get no benefit today. So when we talk about contributing to a traditional IRA or to the traditional 401k plans there, what we're doing is that we are deferring the taxes on this income until we decide to pull it out of those accounts.
Mm-hmm.
With the Roth account, we pay the taxes today, and then we let that sit and grow. And after 5 years, all the earnings and the amount that we've put in there is going to be tax-free. So Roth accounts are perfect for people just starting out in their careers if they can do this. Might not be as applicable to a typical for a retired person, but definitely for the 20 and 30-year-olds that are out there, they are starting their careers out. They can put the money in the Roth and have that element of time to watch that thing grow, and then they will be in a great position for their retirement.
Sure. Now, there are required minimum distribution times on all of these. So even if you have tax issues or you may be running into them, you may still have to draw that money.
Yeah, I'll comment on this because we deal with this a lot. Required minimum distributions, all those years of putting money in pre-tax. Eventually, the Uncle Sam gets a little impatient and says, you got to start drawing this money out because we want our tax revenues. And for those born after 1959, the age is 73. And if you're listening, you say, well, I thought it was 70 and a half. Well, it was for years. And then it was recently changed to 72, now changed to 73. And I believe in 7 years it goes to 75 if they don't make any additional changes, where you're going to have to start pulling out of those. It starts at about just over 4% of your total pre-tax dollars. So as retirement planners, what we look at, oftentimes in the early years of retirement, maybe you're delaying Social Security for good reason. Maybe you haven't turned on the pension yet, and your income is more lean than it ever has been. That creates a window of opportunity to do the Roth conversions, converting some of that IRA to Roth, maybe taking advantage of low capital gains or no capital gains taxes to minimize the amount of tax effects that it's going to have when you do have to start turning it on. So if this sounds complicated, it doesn't have to be complicated. We map out income and distribution tax plans for retirees all the time. It's just a system you want to get into. But if you don't have somebody you're meeting with and discussing these things, you're probably not getting this attention. And if you're not getting that attention, you're probably missing the opportunities again. And most people are not getting the attention they truly deserve.
Absolutely. What's tax diversification? What does that mean?
So tax diversification is that when we have different types of accounts. So we've talked a lot about the pre-tax, which is our 401k, the traditional IRA. Then we have after-tax accounts, which is our Roth. These are all qualified accounts, meaning that all the growth that's happening in them, we don't really care about until we actually take the distributions from these accounts. There are also non-qualified accounts, which is funded with, again, after-tax money, but you're going to be paying the taxes on the interest, dividends, and any type of growth, such as capital gains, when we realize those gains. And those happen every year. So the tax diversification is saying that we want to have money in kind of each of these buckets. So when we map out those income plans right there, we take money out of the IRAs and we pay the taxes on that. But let's keep that money that we're taking out of those in these lower tax brackets. So when we max out that 12% tax bracket and we still need to have more income, well, now we can look at possibly getting money out of those non-qualified accounts, or we tap into the Roth accounts. Instead, if somebody goes through and says all they have is an IRA, okay, well, there's not a lot that we can do. If you need to have $200,000, you have $200,000 and it's all going to be taxable. Versus this other person, we can say, oh, let's only pull out $95,000 from the IRA. Let's pull out $30,000 out of the Roth, and then we can take the rest of it that we need out of our non-qualified accounts. And the tax bills are going to be significantly different.
Mm-hmm. Well, a tax diversification sounds like a very complicated, but very strategic sort of plan. And Larry has said, and of course Lance has said, these kinds of plans, most of the time we all need a little help putting together. And this is the time to start that kind of a planning. If you're, approaching retirement, now if you're in retirement, there's some other steps that can be taken, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. But if you're someone who's looking to diversify in this way, give the folks at Haven Financial Group a call. 612-504-8400. That's 612-504-8400. Tell them you heard us here on the radio. Set up an appointment and get in there, see Lance immediately so you can sit down and begin planning and begin working toward diversification. When we come back, we're going to talk about taxes and investments and how that affects your retirement. This is the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.